Hey guys, it's V Man from the Pizza Roll Diaries, and with me today is Steve. How are we doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
Finer than frog hair, my friend. So, you guys on your channel are releasing some fan films and producing and releasing and producing and releasing. And tell me a little bit about what you guys have been doing lately, man, because you guys are just all over the place doing stuff. What you guys got going on, man?
Oh, wow. Well, last year we got together and produced a small film called Captain Ross's Final Message. And let me tell you, that was a whirlwind. We wrote it in a couple of days. Jeff Barnes and I wrote it together. We consulted a couple of people, had Roy Ivy in on it to help us, with a little bit of clarity, especially when we started cutting the edit, because as a creator, you like to you like what you did. You know what I mean? You it looks good. No, wait a minute. It looks good to you. Does it
It's
look good
perfect.
to
Right,
everybody?
right,
So
right.
we need a little bit of objective opinion. So we asked Roy Ivy, who's in the film industry with you guys a lot, and we've known Roy for quite a while. So he helped us decide on a good cut, and we released it. Got a lot of attention last year, and at that point, we went on a couple of podcasts, and you came on and made us an offer to maybe write some things together, produce a few crossovers with the Constar universe. And sure, why not? So we got on that right away. Now here it is, a year later almost. It was March, I think around March 6th when we released Captain Roth. We started filming Directory of Possibilities in April, I think. It was April or May. Uh, and behind the scenes, you have a lot of things you have to do. Does everybody have a costume? Do they have to write this or that? Um, are they delivering their lines properly? Are they going to be able to do that by themselves, or do you need to have a director? That kind of a thing. So we got together with you guys, produced what we could, sent it over to your editor, Dave Candage, who got with your special effects department and compositor. I guess Dave probably did a lot of that compositing. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and Dave is kind of a he's kind of a one man show for for a lot of the stuff. He's
Yeah,
a jack of all trades. And the thing about fan films, a lot of people don't realize. They think we have an entire fleet of people, um, and they a lot of the times we have to wear many hats. As a producer, you have
right.
to write a lot of your stuff, or you have to go and direct in a lot of the stuff, or you have to sometimes be the cinematographer, or you have to go in, especially on the early days. You have to, sometimes you're the water boy that's taking people, hey, here you go, are you comfortable, um, but you have to go in and wear a lot of the a lot of different hats to make sure everything is done, because if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And the editor, the same thing. If you're missing a voiceover, a lot of the times you're the one doing the voiceover and putting it in there and moving on. There's a lot of times, my editor Trey Nar, he's done this. He's done that. He's like, hey, I don't have this voiceover. You want me to just go ahead and voice it and be good? And I'm like,
That's
kudos, man.
cool.
Yeah. So he'll get sometimes he'll give himself credit for it. Sometimes he won't. He's just like, I don't care. It's fine. But a lot of times that's what happens. Because it's just what happens in the industry. But no, Dave, he surprises me with the stuff, the creative stuff he has to come up with to be like, hey, let me work you out of this problem.
Right.
And a lot of times I don't even know until after the fact. It's like, yeah, this was an issue. This was an issue, but I got you, man. I'm like, oh, thanks, man.
Like I
But
was
he's a good
asking
guy.
the other day, I said, where did you get that screen you used in Directory of Possibilities? He said, what are you talking about? I said, the screen where I'm talking to somebody and they pop up on the screen. There's Frank. Oh, I've never seen that screen before. Where's that from? He says, oh, I made it. Like, okay.
Yeah,
So it's good to know when you have these guys who are multi-talented, that's how you get things done. And that
yeah.
was sort of the point, is that Dave, you offered Dave to come over and help us whenever you started slowing down on your side of the business. And Dave's been a good asset over here.
Well, and
So
that's one of the things when we started talking about
yeah,
collaborating and working together. It's you when I first started, like a lot of people were hoarding on to their people and they didn't want to share the resources, and
right,
it really was kind of a cutthroat type, uh, for lack of a better word, industry. I don't like to use that word because it makes it feel like we're more important than we
right.
are. I mean, at the end of the
Nobody's
day, like,
making money.
yeah, at the end of the day, like, we're not that important.
Right.
We like to feel we are, but we're not. But it very was cutthroat. Everybody wanted to be the top dog, and I really had the mentality of like, well, if we're all the forgive me, Little Caesars, but if we're all the Little Caesars of the fan film industry, where we're making hot and readies left and right, and we're serving them out to people, like, we can spread our wealth and reach everybody, and that's
Exactly.
let's do this the cheap but efficient way, and do like what Little Caesars does with their pizza, and reach as many as we can, and
Right.
and and spread the wealth per se. We don't have to be the biggest and the best and the top dog. Like, let's just have fun, and that's one of the beauties of seeing Dave work on your guys' projects, and you've
Keep
returned the
busy.
favor. Yeah, well, you've returned the favor with sending Ian my way.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Ian Burke is a fantastic CGI artist and graphics artist. Okay. And if any of you guys are on LinkedIn, look him up. He is available to actually work for pay. Okay. If you're hiring and you really want quality work, this is the guy you want. I'm
I I,
telling
ha-
you.
I have to tell you, like, for
For
Constar,
TNG and after,
oh,
that's his
for
specialty.
for Constar the motion picture, have I think I've shared a few of the scenes with you.
Yes.
I but I'm
I'm
very as you're like, come to my subscription channel. It's all there, guys. Pay a heavy price. Um, but I've been very close guarded with what I've released and
right.
shown publicly, the film, because it's a father son film, and I don't want to release a lot of stuff to the public. I want, if I release the film to YouTube, I want people to be pleasantly surprised, and if I don't, hey, they're not out anything, because I know there's a lot of naysayers that are like, oh, he never retired. I knew it.
Yeah, I
I don't
heard
want any of
that.
that bullshit. Yeah, I don't
I've
I
heard
don't.
that a lot.
Yeah, that really irritates me, because it's one of those things where it's like, look, this is me sharing an experience with my son, and showing him Star Trek, and I want to show him how to properly make a film, how to take his time and do it right. And so for me, it's like, this isn't about retiring from films and making a great con star. This is about having fun with my son, and showing him what I've learned from a decade's worth of filmmaking. And so I've been very close guarded with the stuff that I've revealed from that. But I am taking my time and I'm doing it right. It's not just a com box film. It's not just me talking on a monitor and someone else talking on a monitor. And although those elements
Different
are
level.
there, because yeah,
Yeah.
but although those elements are there, but at the end of the day, like, I am doing it a little better. And Ian has taken what I've asked, and he has just
Through
stepped
the
those
roof,
in. Oh,
through
dude,
the roof quality.
dude. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
telling you.
And when I came to you, I said, hey, man, I have shot myself in the foot here. I've already shot footage that I don't know what to do. The only thing I can do, because there's nothing online for this scene
Oh,
that I,
background too, big time.
yeah, that I thought I was going to be able to get. Because of course
Right.
you think ahead of time. You just shoot, and then you think, oh, I'll just grab a background later. And then when you go and you're like, oh, fuck, there's no background.
Right.
Damn. The only way I would have been able to change that for the better would be scrap everything and go to the studio and film there
Right.
what I needed. And that was something I didn't want to do.
It's not an option
And
for us. So.
yeah. And Ian his background, like he was, you guys really saved the day there by, hey, we got you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you really did. And then the continuing of, hey, you need this. Oh, let me do this. Hey, you need this. Oh, I'll do this. You need this.
Get
And
the
that's,
schedule around here and there. It's not a big deal. Nobody's making money.
yeah, no, and
Our
that's,
money is our attention with each other, our time with each other, the fun that we're having, the quality that we produce, and hopefully some enjoyment out there from you guys. It's
well, and
we're
that's why when we say, hey guys, can you share the video? Or hey guys, give it a like. Hey guys, leave a comment. Like that's the
the payment.
money we make. Yeah, the payment. That's exactly like that. That's the enjoyment we get. And when we that's why when I say, hey, what credit do you need? Like
Right.
what, how do you want this? Because that's the, that's the stamp of approval that we can say, hey, I worked on this film.
Right.
And I know some people today say, oh, they just want free labor, and
I've had that.
oh, it's exposure, and it's like, no, but when you look at us fans,
Mhm.
that really is something where we can say, hey, I got to work on that,
Right.
and that's our enjoyment, because we are fans at the end of the day that are doing
We
something
have
like that.
passionate fans who really want to. It's not about them being seen as much as they want their idea or their
Yeah,
concept or their dream to be on
yeah,
screen. Okay. Some people, it's just being. You had a case where a guy said, "It's been my dream just to be in a something Star Trek related. It doesn't have. It can be a commercial. It can be standing in the background somewhere, whatever." And you made that person's dream come true. And more than one time, I know for a fact,
yep,
more than one time. And I've had a similar situation where some people were like, "I'd just like to be in it." Well, how about a voiceover? Okay, how about this or that? And sometimes people don't make the grade for the world class actors, but we're all fan films anyway, right? And it's not like you said, we're not on Broadway, we're not in we're not up for an Oscar. If we're lucky, we might be up for a fan film award somewhere one day, but um, spread it around a little bit. And if you're not going to make the silly movie that person wants to be in, send them to somebody who's going to do that kind of a genre. I mean, there are so many different groups. Everybody has a niche. Okay. You have a niche and you go actually from more than one, you're in TOS for a while, you go to TNG, you're in like Prodigy. Okay. See, my niche has been TOS and Phase 2. I always wanted to see Phase 2 get made. And so what I thought we would do is hopefully be a type of a spinoff. We're not Star Trek people, okay? We're inspired by Star Trek. We're inspired by Phase 2. That's the best I can do. Share our vision with the model makers that we have, Ian, and of course, my long-term guy, Kenneth Mays. I mean, he is a wizard. You saw the background with Jefferson in it, right?
I did. I've seen.
Like,
Yep.
wow, he's actually in the engine room on this ship. You know what I mean? It looks like he's actually in a spaceship engine room that looks close enough to the Star Trek that that you'll say, okay, it's not the Enterprise, but it is a starship.
Well,
And
and
that's what I'm going for.
that's one of the beauties of doing these films is you get to you get to do your spin on things.
Mhm.
Like I know there are people that'll watch my films, they'll be like, hey, there's a Little Caesars in the back of the scene over there, or hey, there's a car that's passing the scene. I don't think the car would make it to the 23rd century or 24th. It's like,
There's
eh,
always a hobbyist
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah, yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like, we tend to focus more on the story rather than the visual stuff. I think I've gotten better at hiding my flaws. But the thing about doing these films is we get to do our take on Star Trek, and the thing about it is, like, going back simply to, like, classic Trek, that, 20-25 years ago, when we only had the 5 Treks. Man, who would have thought we would be looking at that as classic Trek? The golden age of Trek. When we had TOS and Next Gen, and DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. Those are all 5 very different shows. They're not similar to each other in any fashion, but they have their different flavor. And it's the same thing with these films. Like, we all have our own different style and our choices in storytelling.
But at a glance, whenever you tune in, you just walk in the room, you go, Constar, Avalon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's something that Frank did. You know at a glance, and that's what we're going for too. So, I mean, we have a set of ships that nobody's used. I mean, you've heard of USS Columbia, but which one am I talking about? It could be any USS Columbia, but the one we're using, I dusted out of the manual back in 1970, whatever, 75 or whatever, when the Franz Joseph published his technical manual. Okay. I wanted a different ship. Everybody wants to be the captain of the Enterprise. Excuse me, that's one chair and one ship. And you can't be Captain Kirk. Sorry. That seat's taken. So choose another ship, choose another position. It's another reason I'm not captain of the ship. I am not. I started out as an engineer on another project for another group. And I created the character that they were going to use. And they scrapped the project. So Jeff and I took the project and went the next level. And that's where we are. So we've been working on one project since 2022. It's still not done, but I have a lot of stuff filmed. And between that time in 2022 and now, we've developed our own costumes that are a little different. You've seen our short sleeve. Some of them have the rank up here, like Captain Kirk's green uniform. We have individualized ship insignia instead of the Delta that everybody wants to wear because it's easy to buy. We had some made. I'm not criticizing anybody who's doing something different. I'm just explaining what we're doing so that you can see at a glance, okay, why is he wearing a Columbia uniform when he's on another ship? That's a good question. Why is Jefferson wearing a Crytek uniform on Columbia? What? See, and if you notice, then in the back of your mind, you're going to start asking that question the next time you see him. Was he wearing that on the other ship the last time? Or is, what's going on? And if they ask questions, then they're actually engaged in the story, you see? So everybody else is on the Columbia is wearing a Columbia insignia. Why isn't this guy? And I won't reveal the character's name right this minute because I'm not sure where we are on that type publicity.
No, we've talked about it before. I'm pretty confident with it, so I don't mind because we've talked about it. It's the grandfather of Benjamin Sisko.
Okay.
So we because it was funny because him and I have talked about this, how people lost their shit when we were like, yeah, but it's Cisco, and they were like, it can't. Yeah, it can't be. How could it be Cisco's grandfather when he's in a Picard era uniform? This can't be, And
right.
It's, again, we're not going to tell how we do it because we've discussed that. We know and all those things, but it's wonderful to see these things. It reminds me of the early days of Constar when I was jumping around in the different times and
right.
and well, wait till we get there. And once you see, you're like, oh, now it makes sense. So it's funny to see this side of the story and be like, well, just wait till the things meet,
What's so funny though, Vance, is that when we started on Xenocean Encounter, it was called something else as a 5-page treatment, but right now it's called Xenocean Encounter. Back in 2022, Matt Arnold, Jeff Barnes, me, and I can't remember who else were the actual writers of the original story, and then I've continued to tweak it since then. And we weren't associated with you directly. We had done some things for you in different films that you wanted done and that kind of thing. But I wasn't even thinking about what you were doing with Constar when we were writing this. And here we've got timey-wimey stuff going on like Doctor Who almost, It's like there's a Bermuda Triangle type situation going on in our timeline. Okay. And uh, some of your characters that are crossing over might be influencing that time space anomaly situation. I don't know. It's to make you look, huh? Make you watch the story and find out what's going on. But
Well, and
it's
that's
fun how those characters that we didn't even think about mixing those characters in with our uh,
well, well, it's
series.
part. Well, that's part of the beauty of doing these fan films is like you see the evolution. Because of course, when we start writing a story, we think this is what it's going to be, and this is it, and that's we're good to go, and this is a perfect story. But then 3 months later, you're filming something, and you're like, ah, shit, this person left the production, or this
Right.
they canceled, or this, because a million things can happen. I mean, hell, it
Sure.
happens when we
Life
go,
happens.
yeah. Um, so then somebody else comes in who may be an established character somewhere else, and then it changes the scene because you're like, well, this adds a different dynamic to it. So if we tweak this line here and there, well, it changes the scene, and you're like, oh, this makes it even better. And
Right.
then or somebody else comes in, you're like, well, okay, this changes this scene, and if we add a scene and do this, oh man, this makes the story even that much better. So it expands stuff in a way, and it's like it's great, because we've got Vanden Boss in your films, we've got
Right.
Preston Cisco in your films, and again, it just I see Preston Cisco much like Menard, where this is a guy who has a character. It's very much his own. Hell, just like Vanden Boss, that's very much Roy's character. It's very much his own. Who is in the Constar universe, he is his own character, but he's now doing something here, and it's fun to help give you guys that jumping off point for, hey, let's do this and now expand here, and it helps build you guys up. It's fun because that's what we should be doing as filmmakers, is helping the people who are just starting off on doing these things, and helping
Right.
them expand, because 5 years later down the road, you might be the people who are like, hey, let's put your character in something that's just starting off, and you guys are the ones that are guiding the people.
Exactly.
It's fun to see these things that evolve, because how my stories certainly have. Originally, Constar was supposed to be only 10-episode miniseries, and that was it, and then done. And 160 films later, we're still
How many
talking.
years? It's like 10
Yeah,
years now, right?
10 years. Yeah, we're going on 11. In December. It'll be. Yeah, so 10 and a half years. It's fun to see these films evolve, and that's saying, like, you should always be flexible on doing your films. People who get locked into the micromanaging, only tunnel vision only, like you can't do that. You have to be flexible, and I love seeing Jefferson as part of your guys' production. I enjoy seeing Roy as part of your production, because it means those characters get to grow in ways that I can't go with them. Because I'd love to sit there and write for these characters and write out stories, and there's always there's always that want for me to come back and be like, I could write this and this, and this story, oh, I could do this, but I have to constantly be like, no, you left, you're done. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing this with Royce. Let this beef with him, and let them go do their thing. Like, you can't join. You're done. Because it's like, you'll never leave if you set your choice aside, let them go. So it's fun, but it's also restricting, because it's like it's like when you're on a diet and you're seeing people eat pizza, and you're like, but I like pepperoni too. So, but it's exciting to see what you guys come up with, and when you send me the scripts, and when you send me little clips here and there. Yeah, it's. I admit, like, I'm a little jealous, because it's like, you guys, and it would be. I admit that I did shut off the, hey, I'm not doing cameos anymore, I'm done. There's always that want to come back and be like, oh, I could do one more, but once you come back and do those things, it's like, it's always easier to be like, oh, I'll do 15 more cameos, and then that.
Right.
No, so you have to stop. But I admit, it is nice to know that those characters live on, and with good people like yourself, yeah, no, it's great. No, thank you, because it means that dream that I started, for at least for myself, of trying to make people live their dream, and anybody can do it. Like you're living proof that mentality was successful, that anybody can do it. And meeting people like Ian and your team, like, I mean, that was such a blessing to have that help. And it's just putting out there and getting it back. Like it's wonderful. You guys are a wonderful group of people.
Thank you. Well, I need a shout out to Kenneth Thompson also, because
Yes.
in 2022, I was working with Kenneth Thompson, here and there, doing a couple of cameos for him. And like I said, things happen and things get put aside. The stuff that I did for him hasn't appeared on screen yet, and that's fine. But it's just the way things go. You cannot take that personally. And I apologize also to Roy, because I filmed stuff in 2022 for him. It hasn't been aired yet, but it's very important that it airs in a certain way, So he's been very kind about it. He's gone on and done other things for you guys, and as the same character. It's just a slightly different time down the road than we are. We're in 2267 era, more or less, right now, and then we'll probably shift over to 2270 or so with the next era. What do you call it? The lost era uniforms, like Potemkin wears, that kind of thing. So right now we're doing standard TOS costumes, and then some altered ones that I had created, and that type of thing, with the TOS looking. Most of them are TOS looking ships. So the Columbia is a scout ship. Miranda is just what it sounds like. It's like a Reliant, but it's got the round nacelles back from TOS era. You'll see an upgrade on the Columbia later on, and we have an experimental ship, a super dreadnought, created by the Salisbury Starship Design Bureau, which is a colony out in the Orion sector, and it's called Crytek. So USS Crytek is an NX ship with 3 engines, and I'll let your imagination go wild with that. So it's 3 phase 2 engines. So they look kind of like the movie and kind of like TOS. In other words, they have the red glowing nacelles, the end caps, or the Bassard collectors, if you were to call them that. They're red and glowing when the engine's going. And when it's not, it looks just like a standard motion picture type engine, So at a glance, you're going, you screwed up already. It's 2267. You're in season 1 or 2 of Star Trek. Well, kind of, but we're not in the area of Starfleet you're used to seeing. We're near the Klingon border in the Orion Belt area. Okay, so between the Orion Belt and the Klingon border, that's where we patrol. So with a colony established that far away from Earth, it takes almost a year at warp 5, average warp 5, just to get to that sector. So Roy, Admiral Vanderboss, moved to Deep Space Station K2. That's where his headquarters is. Had to get all of that set up. You got to have a space station. You need the interiors. You need the graphics. The headquarters insignia and all of that. Those little details blend in and make for a reality. And once I think the audience sees the entire situation on video, I think they'll understand why, even though it's 2267, it is phase 2. It's a little early, but it's not your standard Starfleet either. We're a combined service with the local colony. They're kind of a protectorate of the Federation. So,
well, you did send us a video.
Yeah.
That little clip. I think I'll go ahead and put it on.
Okay.
So, for our audience out there, this is a little preview, a little behind the scenes. What you said. Okay, go ahead and play that now.
was that?
You all right, Chief? All right.
Engineering this EXO. The engine doesn't feel right. Is everything okay down there, Mr. Cisco?
Sir, you're right. The plasma flow hasn't been the same since our little incident with the Orion pirates a while back. I need to take the injector assembly offline and send in a crew to properly calibrate the replacement injector, or we could have some unfortunate problems with the warp field.
Well, that's going to put us dead in space for a while, isn't it?
4 hours by the book, or 2 if we did it my way.
Your way might be why we're in this situation. You may proceed by the book, Mr. Cisco. Just keep me informed. I'll update the chief engineer and the captain during our turnover at breakfast.
Aye, sir. Cisco out.
You all right, Chief?
I don't want to talk about it.
You seem like you've been down the last couple months. Uh-oh. All right. There seems to be something wrong with the sensor array. It's locking up or something. I'm getting an indication down here. Are you seeing that on your end?
Yeah. My comms array indicator is out of alignment. It should realign itself when the deflector dish resets. Remember, just give it a few minutes.
All right. I miss the old days when it was all unicorns and rainbows. I'm starting to think this starship's just a little too uptight.
It's just all mindless chattering.
Yeah, usually.
No rainbows and unicorns, but hey, there goes that normal one. So what'd you think?
Not bad, not bad. I'm curious. There's a lot of things in there I'm curious about. So, what can you tell me about the story of the film that we just saw? Some behind the scenes and previews and clips from. What can you tell us about the story?
Without giving much away, it's a type of a sequel for Captain Roth's Final Message. What happened is in Captain Roth's Final Message, go back and watch it. He was basically kidnapped, put in a black ops site, and then we have a sequel that we're working on now called In Deep Mud, in which he's rescued, or we don't know if he'll be dead or alive, right? And then the third film, which was our crossover Directory of Possibilities, you see Captain Roth. And we talk about what happened a little bit. And then the next thing that happens is this film. So that's how it is in story order. So you see an engineer who is assigned to a different ship than he wanted to be assigned to, because he was on Crytek with Captain Roth, and all of those people were shipped off to different ships for political reasons. So you have a disgruntled officer who's technically old enough to retire. He's a commander. So what's he going to do? Should he retire? Should he just give up? Should he ask for a promotion? Hey, I'm a commander. I should be a captain. Or has he turned one down? Has he turned down a promotion? So you're getting to know these characters, especially the two in the room, more or less, there that you see. It's kind of a Combox video where we're working the late shift, repairing some things, and Commander Stahl is mentoring Mr. Griffin. When some little weird things start happening, and you might have noticed a uniform change. Did you notice the little wavy lines, and then long sleeve turned into short sleeve uniform? Something happened. So it's a little bit of a timey-wimey situation going on here with that anomaly that's in another movie coming up. Does that make sense? Probably not. Stay tuned and you'll find out. But as for the actual film that you just saw, that just gives you an example of some of the techniques that I can use to direct my people to help me fill the gaps where there's a problem in the film. You notice there were some shots missing of me, and that's because that angle hadn't been composited yet. Then there's the special effects that we're still trying to work out there, how Stahl transitions from his security office to engineering, where he wants to be. Maybe he wishes so hard that he's engineer again that he just appears in engineering. Who knows? You'll figure it out whenever you see the final film.
So, getting to write these characters, how long do you think this series is gonna, like, are you planning, is this gonna be like maybe 5 episode, or is it something you want it to be like, 5 year plan, or is this something that's going to be long term, short term? Like how big do you expect this or want this to go? Best case scenario, what's your long term plans for the show?
Long term plans, I would like to see it go on for at least another year. Like I said, I would like to transition from this part of phase 2 to the beginning of what would have been the motion picture era, roughly, when phase 2 started changing uniforms. And that's going to be a controversy in the series. There's a complaint. Why are we changing uniforms again? Why are you doing away with the Crytek uniform insignia? Why do I have to wear a turtleneck? I'm always hot. That kind of thing, You see these guys in turtlenecks all the time on Star Trek motion pictures, the TOS era. Why? Is the ship that cold? It doesn't make any sense. And people are from different environments. So you might have people that live in a place like Alaska who are uncomfortable in long sleeves at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, if that's what you're using, 40 degrees Celsius, something like that. So there are different cultures within. That's another problem, is we have a combined service. We have Starfleet. They're all Starfleet, but some of them are collateral transfers from the Salisbury Defense Forces. So it's kind of like an exchange program, like when you have Canada and the United States exchanging officers. Well, you've gone to the same kind of an academy. You've got the same accreditations. You cross deck to the other ship. You all speak the same language. You have similar costumes, uniforms. So it's kind of like that. And in story, in reality, it's very difficult to buy a good Star Trek uniform. You know that. It's expensive. You want to go screen accurate? Oh man, you're talking hundreds of dollars with the trousers, the boots, and everything, and the rank insignia. So I started off at the beginning and said, don't worry about that. It looks good with the rickrack. Okay, the little inexpensive $2 rickrack you could put on. Your uniform came as an ensign, so what? Go to the tailor, take this $2 rickrack, $10, you're now a lieutenant. You know what I mean? So you get the off the rack stuff and you alter it yourself. And the people that don't have the screen accurate stuff, or they have our own costumes that we make, we're basically admitting that we are from the Salisbury colony. That's who we are. We're integrated into Starfleet in this sector, but our Task Force 78 is predominantly Salisbury colonists. So, does that explain anything?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm hoping to do a little background video, kind of like the guys over at another group did with like Memory Alpha kind of a thing. This is a
Right.
background of the colony, how they got settled, and why
Well,
they had contact for 100 years, that kind of thing.
Oh, background videos is sometimes more interesting than the actual videos yourself because you get the deep dive into the mentality and philosophy and the what goes into, which sometimes it's more interesting than what actually we see on screen. Because you get the behind the scenes, the peek behind the curtain per se.
Right.
Sometimes it's more interesting. So before we end, because we're almost at the 45-minute mark, which is kind of
Okay.
where that's my safety zone. What's your favorite? If you could pick a couple of fan films to limit it to, maybe 2 or 3. What's been?
Put me on the spot, really?
Yeah. I'm putting you on. I'm the feet to the fire here. What would be if you could on a desert island and you only had Wi-Fi for and battery for I'm trying to make it more modern here. And you weren't smart enough to call out for help. What would be your 3? What would be your 3 top fan films that you would enjoy?
That's hard to say. I really liked what they did with Star Trek Continues.
Mhm.
I considered Star Trek Continues basically part of canon. A lot of those stories seem to be dusted off scripts that should have been used in Phase 2. Same with what James Cawley did, especially the Phase 2 era that he transitioned over to that. I don't remember names of episodes. Of course, there's and I can't remember the name of your film, but you've done 200 and something, right? Or more. But there's a film that you did with the Valiant. And the guys transport over from the ground. They're on the ground. It was like Mirror Universe. They transport up, and the story ends before you can really get into the nitty gritty about Captain of the Defiant, because you guys were on the Valiant and now you're taking over the Defiant. You remember that? I can't remember the name of the film. I'm sorry. But then Adam Mullen contacted me and said, "Hey, could you do an audio drama
Oh,
voiceover for me?" Right?
I think you're talking about is it the one where I'm stabbing Emily at the beginning? Yeah, that's a Dark Glimmer. Dark
Mm-hmm. Glimmer. Yes, that's the one. That's the one of yours that I really liked. It really got me. I wasn't expecting it the way that it turned out, and I mean, I didn't care what you guys were wearing. I was into the story. I had stopped looking at all of any little flaws or anything. Seriously, and I, when I first started watching your films, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're wearing tennis shoes. And I asked you questions. You may not remember, but I got on that. You did there was a viewing where you were sharing somebody was showing your videos, and I was in the room and YouTube asking questions. Why are they wearing tennis shoes? And you're like, well, because not everybody can afford boots or something like that. And then finally, I think you got a little annoyed with me. You said, dude, just watch the movie.
Gotta be honest. Yep, that's yeah. Yep.
And then you contacted me a while later with Adam Mullen and said, "Hey, we'd like you to do this audio drama on." I forgot the name of the drama now, but we did 2 of them, and they were basically sequels to what we're talking about. So I'm sorry, I was involved in the periphery there in the aftermath, but that really engaged me. That particular story engaged me. So I guess that movie, and one from Star Trek Continues, and one from whatever the other guy's name show is in New York. Star Trek Phase 2, I guess.
Phase 2, yeah.
Or something like that. They started out one way and called it something else a little later. But
Yeah.
And they're different styles. They're different actors.
Yeah. They have a completely different. It's funny because it's you can take it. It's an example of where you could take the same type of material but look at it from completely different perspectives. It's kind of like where you could take a burger and it's like McDonald's or Burger King, same burger, but two different takes on the same type of thing. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what they did. It's like, it's not necessarily that one is wrong. It's just different interpretations. Look at Batman. How many different Batman have we had? It's like fuck, every 2 seconds you got a different Batman. So but all right, man. Well, it's we're almost at the 50-minute mark. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
But it was really good to have you on. I think in a couple months we'll probably have you back on to shoot the shit again and see where we're at film wise. And
episodes. We've got a couple of crossovers left to do.
Oh yeah. See where we're at and just catch back up, man. So if you're interested, we'd love to have you back on. And it was good talking with you, man. So
thank you. You too.
So
thanks.
All right. So absolutely. So Steve, thank you for coming on, and everybody at home, thank you for tuning in. And if you like the video, leave a comment below. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and go ahead and join Steve on his channel. Steve, where can they find you at?
YouTube. Terry Harris Films. I don't know the link. Maybe I can get you to put the link in down at the comments.
Sounds like a plan. Or they can find him on OnlyFans, and we'll get that link for you too. So on that note, everybody be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.